How's it going, everybody? I hope you're having a fantastic day. Today we're going to be looking at my defensive layouts on the builder base. I'm sitting at the 143 globally, and it is, in theory, the end of the season. Despite us having 6 days left, the top end of the leaderboard is completely frozen due to glitches that Supercell has yet to fix, or even hotfix. Kind of disappointing, but alas, here we are. So let's take a look at some defenses. Unfortunately, my recent defenses, the oldest ones, are over 5 and 6 days old, so I do not have any replays. However, I do have the layouts, so I can break them down and show them for you. I'm also going to be posting each of these base links in the description below, so you can copy them and hopefully utilize them for next season. So this is by far my favorite base layout. It's very, very good versus cannon carts, very good versus baby dragons, but it is particularly weak to P.E.K.K.A.s. So you have to sort of know that when you're using this base. If you're getting attacked by a bunch of P.E.K.K.A. players, you can swap the X-Bow to ground mode. That does help. You can also drop these archer towers down to a lower range and get some better DPS. But typically, if you're facing P.E.K.K.A.s, I would probably use a different base. But what's nice about this base is that these archer towers are 2 tiles back from the walls, so archers cannot hit them. What's also nice is that this base has the multi-mortar and the giant cannon. So it's very well protected, because if you're using the 3 carts, 3 baby dragon attack strategy, which is very, very good, you would have to essentially use the baby dragons for each of these archer towers, and then you'd have to choose using your battle chopper. Like, are you going to try and risk it and take out the multi-mortar? Are you going to send the chopper on the left-hand side, try and take out the archer tower and the giant cannon? There's just not really any good options, and all the traps are pretty much set to air, except for 1 bomb just set to ground to try and help protect against cannon carts and P.E.K.K.A.s. So the second portion of this layout, the second base, has the lava launcher and a bunch of push traps. So the one thing that can destroy the base on the front end are push traps, but this lava launcher is set in the core of the base. We have a bunch of spring traps protecting it from archers, and then we have the 3 cannons and a double cannon to try and stop the battle machine from getting too much value. We also have the Teslas on the sides here to snipe down any of the cannon carts that are trying to get value on the outside of the base. And this base works really, really well. Typically, the goal on this sort of combination of the first base and the second base is that we're hoping that not much survives from the first base, so then the second base holds up really, really well. If the attacker is pretty good and they are able to smash through the first base, this is not the greatest second stage layout. I mean, we're pretty much using the bare minimum of defenses to protect it, but sometimes you can protect the auto outpost with this layout. Sometimes it only ends up in a 4-star instead of a 6-star, which is nice. So next up, we're taking a look at my second favorite layout. It is this one. This one is very, very tricky because it looks like it can be taken out with cannon carts with these lower arch towers. However, we've got the lava launcher that covers half the base and the ground X-Bow that covers the right-hand side of the base. So then you would be thinking like, okay, well, since there's a lot of those defenses, let's use air. But what's tricky is that these shorter range archer towers, they actually demolish baby dragons, and the breath abilities are not going to get that much value since these storages are on the outer portion of the base. By the time the baby dragons even get close to the core, they're going to have to immediately use their breath abilities, so they won't get a whole lot of value. This base is really, really good versus P.E.K.K.A.s, and it's a little bit weaker to like a really good air attacker. And then this base in particular is really hard for cannon carts. Just really hard for cannon carts to get through the ground X-Bow, because you need essentially a lot of archers or 2 baby dragons to get through the X-Bow and the lava launcher and the giant cannon. So There's pretty much just no way for the cards to get a lot of value. We also have some ground bombs, which are nice. So even if they do get pretty close with the ground attacks or the cannon carts, we'll have at least some damage going into the core and some next to the builder hall. So now this second stage is very, very tricky. It's a little bit of a variation than the base that I found, which I should also mention, all these bases I got were from the King Bob Discord. Love that King Bob has been posting a lot of the bases that he fights. You know, he gets the links from a bunch of other people, and then he's even created a few of his own, which work out pretty well. But this is my second favorite base. I really like this kind of Tesla farm on the top end of the base. And I like all these spring traps on the right hand side. One of the weaknesses of this base on the basic layout is that these cannons are kind of unprotected. So if you take them out relatively easily, you only have to worry about these two on the other side. So you can play around with the push traps a little bit. These kind of areas where I've been finding a lot of people use the cannon carts. They try to directly target the cannons, take them out, and then try and get a lot of value from the ground hero. But if you have good traps, you can really thwart their plans. And this second stage is really brutal for ground attacks. With there being a crusher, 3 cannons, you know, a double cannon on sort of its own section, centralized auto outpost. Not a fun time for the attacker. So lastly, there is the King Bob's base that is his favorite. So this one works very, very well against a lot of attacks. It's really good versus the Baby Dragon spam. It's really good versus the P.E.K.K.A. spam. Why it's good against the Baby Dragons is that they have these lower arch towers, which again, they just eviscerate Baby Dragons super, super fast. So we've got some key air mines protecting the arch towers. And then we have the centralized Mega Tesla and then an offset air bomb. So when using Baby Dragons, the attacker will have to set 2 Baby Dragons for the air bomb side, 2 Baby Dragons for the Mega Tesla. Then they have to pretty much take 2 Baby Dragons for this Archer Tower, 2 Baby Dragons for this Archer Tower. And you still have this other longer range Archer Tower with a hidden Tesla with a lot of air mines next to it. So, you know, especially with the Air Expo, it's just hard for Baby Dragons to get a lot of value on this base. Now with P.E.K.K.A. spam, there are a lot of compartments. And for the P.E.K.K.As, we have the lower Arch Towers, which do a lot of damage. But we also have the 2 giant cannons, and then we have the 2 crushers right next to each other. So you either have to come in from the builder hall side, from the far side, and hope that the P.E.K.K.As can make it to those crushers, or you have to come in from this left-hand side, which, you know, you're gonna get the crushers taken out very quickly, but then you have these back-end really high DPS defenses to worry about. So again, it's, you know, you sort of have to choose one side or the other. You come in from a flank, but that one's just a really bad idea. And there's just a lot of compartments, so the bombers are going to have a lot of issues. So the one strategy that does take out this base pretty well is the 3 Baby Dragons, 3 cannon carts. And then this base in particular, you can get beaten by the 4 cannon carts, 2 packs archers. But that's where you can move these traps around a little bit, try and get them to where people deploy their cannon carts. Or even better, try to deploy the push traps to where the cannon carts will eventually go, and then we'll push them into a defense. So this is the second part of the last base. This base is very, very tricky to hit with ground. You know, you've got the 3 cannons, you've got a couple of the Troll Teslas on the exterior of the base. So very, very tough. We even have a Troll Bob Hut on the edge here. And you would be surprised how many times people forget to take this out and they can eventually just time fail. But still, we've got the 5 firecrackers on this base, so this is very much like an anti-air base. So if you're getting hit with a Baby Dragon attacks all the time, I would use this base, or I would use the first base that we were looking at. So hopefully this video is helpful. It's kind of unfortunate that we can't push up any higher. But we should be in a really good spot moving forward for next season. And then I'll be doing all live attacks for you, as many as I can, trying to show you my progress, showing the bases live, breaking them down on the spot, trying to take them out. And then I'm going to be using these sets of defensive layouts to try and play the mind games. On this base in particular, if I'm getting hit with P.E.K.K.A.s a lot, I'll just swap this Expo to ground, call it good, might drop an Arch Tower down to ground, can very easily just swap to the next layout. Very, very quick. So you sort of have to time it, sort of have to guess if you're going to get hit by the same person again. You can move your traps around, the push traps, the bombs, all that good stuff. So that's where, even though you can only really have the 3 layouts, if you swap the Expo from ground to air, it's almost like having 6. And then if you have one person that you're facing like all the time and they're a really good attacker, then you sort of just have to go with your best layout and then move the traps around their attacking preference and try to trap the areas where they're deploying and getting a lot of good value from their troops. So hopefully this video is helpful. I know it was a little bit more of a longer one, a little bit more chatty, not too much attacks going on, but I hope the description and the sort of the good and the bad parts of each of these bases helps you sort of think about which one you want to use. I would definitely use this one because a lot of people use the baby dragons, and this one looks like it can be hit by baby dragons, but it is a terrible idea, trust me. So if you enjoyed the video, make sure to like and subscribe, helps me out a bunch. There are a couple more videos on the screen if you want to keep on watching, and until next time, take care.